Hi friends, how are you from around the world? Today is a sit-back lesson, so to say. I will not make a lot of knowledge transfer here. It is rather about arguments and about argumentative basis. So you are a business owner and you have a patent, and then you come along some arguments with that why you should have a patent and you should disclose the patent to everybody, and this is the right way to do, and why don't you do it, etc. So I want to go a bit more deeper into that that situation, arguments from one side and from the other, in order to make you a bit more comfortable. It may it come from something, but I want to get a bit deeper into it so you get more comfortable on what is on the market and how to respond to one and the other argument. Now, for me, I have no sponsor here. I'm completely honest with you with my own beliefs, and that's it. There's nothing else. And I do not have to respond to anybody. So I will just give you my honest description of the actual situation. That was what I'm going to do. I will not give you clear my own opinion. My own opinion is not important. So I want rather you to decide at the end what is your opinion and to get a bit more comfort in your opinion. Well, that is my intention here. Now, what is the situation with inventions today? Well, inventions is a kind, I think everybody would agree on that. Inventions is at the core of our progress, so to say, of society. So we have all seen or experienced or learned the lesson from history and the great inventions and how it progressed society. But the progress is also a bit biased. Somebody says progress is good, others say progress is bad. So it is not about good or bad here. It is just to see a progress is from one state to another. If it is bad or good, often it is only be seen in hindsight, but this is not our discussion here. Now, inventions is at the core of progress, and inventions are protected, so to say, by patents, right? And patents give a monopoly to use to the inventor. So inventor can exploit the patent for, 20 years. So 20 years is a lot of time. It could be more, it could be 70 years, but it's not 70 years. And why is that? Well, the situation is that society has also to benefit from your invention. You are human and you are living in a society, and the society has also its right to participate in what you invent. So you receive from others as well the input for your invention. So it is only logic that the time limit should not go beyond this 20 years. Well, it is thought that 20 years should be the right time to give the profit to the inventor. So on one hand is this, it must be limited in order for the society also to get the profit, to see the profit from the inventor. But the inventor should, on the other hand, get the reward from its additional effort in order to develop, whatever invention he has done or she has done. So this is what is, so to say, the trade-off with regard to patents. You should be rewarded because you put some effort into something. If you would not get the 20 years, it would get only 5 years. So the idea behind was, if you get only 5 years, then probably you will not put much effort into it, because 5 years is not very much. It would not be a big incentive for you to work overtime all night or whatever to make this big effort in order to make this invention. So this is more or less the situation, and this has been enshrined in the TRIPS agreement. I talked marginally about that TRIPS agreement of 1994 at the end of the Uruguay round of the World Trade Organization. So it was about intellectual property and, this all kind of intellectual property, which are listed in the TRIPS agreement, some 70-something articles. They have all been adopted by, so to say, a philosophy of private asset with regard to the underlying invention, for example, or trust or goodwill or whatever it is, with regard to each IP right. So that is the TRIPS agreement. On patents, there are only some 7 articles, 27 to 33, I think. So there is one article which is 31 with regard to stress situations in some countries. It's a waiver which is foreseen through different proceedings, a waiver of the patent so that the troubles in some countries may be relieved. So that is with regard to healthcare problems, for example. So we are living through a pandemic, so vaccines, that would be some kind of possibility to waive the patent and make it more affordable for other countries to get to the same situation like the developed countries where the vaccine originates from, right? So Article 31 is the waiver, but there are some other possibilities in order to work around these patents. The COVAX from the COVAX initiative from the World Health Organization in order to provide, kind of portfolio for the less advantaged countries, so to say, the less powerful countries of the world, the African countries or whatever. So that would also some possibilities, and well, these are existing issues, and how this is enshrined in the TRIPS agreement. TRIPS agreement so far is not very difficult to read. So if you are in the patents, so read the patents. If you're on trademarks, you should read the trademarks part. So this is a possibility where you get a bit more background with regard to your intellectual property right, where you're interested in. Now, rather going through arguments back and forth from the one and the other, this is not what I want to do. I want rather make a different approach, and I hope you can accompany me with that. So there are, and I don't want to assess what is right and wrong. I just give you an overview, and it's up to you to decide at the end, right? So there are some factions within ideological factions, the left and right, and we have ideological background. And this background I want to explain you a bit, and what has this is implication with regard to the patents and the patent situation, how it is today. So let us start by the leftist. Why not? The leftist, that would be the social democrats, and more to the left, the socialist and the communist. How would they think? They think about, well, security. They want that the state provide for security. Security is a basic instinct, so to say, from people to get. They have fear or uncertainty of the future. And this fear is a dangerous emotion. Well, not a dangerous emotion. It is a kind of a strong emotion which incites people to look for the state in order to solve their problems and not get out of this the state of uncertainty or fear. So they want a strong state, so to say. They are probably also acknowledging that a strong state need money in order to provide for the people. So the taxes are high, are accepted to be high. They are, however, more focused on equality of the persons. So the wealthy are not looked at something very positive. They go far beyond the equality. So the taxes would be more focused on the wealthy people in order to get the equality requirement better served. So that would be their mindset, so to say. School would be important, everything provided by the state, and the personal responsibility. Well, personal responsibility is not really required, because the state has the responsibility for dealing with the future, dealing with the needs, the basic needs of the people. Now, with regard to patents, they would rather think, well, patent is not really something which should be promoted. It is very private. Society does not benefit, but the society is the one which is the most important thing here, which benefits all and which is the greater good to defend. So they are not very much in favor of patents, and probably even less on copyright. The patents, they recognize probably that there's a lot of money in investigation and in research which has to be put in without knowing if it comes back through exploitation. And the more communist, the more to the left socialist communist, which would deny private property, they would say patent, it must come on the state. So it is for the state in order to exploit any patent, any invention for the future. It would be the benefit of the society at the end. The communism is part of everybody, so everybody would be the benefitor of these patents. So these are more, I would say, leftist thinking, right? So when, on the other hand, you have the capitalist. Capitalist is a bit, the conservatives, capitalist is a bit negative now. What is their mindset? So their mindset is rather the personal responsibility, which is much more important, but which makes the possibility that you can build your life in the way you want, not in the way the state wants, so to say, referring to the leftist part. No, the way you think which is right to build your life, that is the way you should live. So the state is still there. It would make a broad range of safety against other countries, for example, and on international, so to deal with other countries. But on the internal side, it should be rather limited than being the strong part. So those people, they would say, well, I make a research and I get the reward. So the more I work, the more I should earn. That is their mindset, and they would strongly favor probably on patents. They would see as well that other parts of the society are not as well equipped or as well educated or as well, I don't know, they may be unlucky with regard to their fate or whatever. They find themselves in difficult situations. And then they think, well, charity or foundations or the church, or they would try to help through other means into these other levels of society which do not benefit from those individual responsibilities, so to say. So they would say, I have the patent, I will exploit it, and I will go for the next patent, and I will do all over the same. But it is based on my own responsibility, on my own effort, and therefore it is justified that I get something out of it, even if it is more than the others. And then you have the, the libertarians. Libertarians, you have them, still a minority, I would think, but you have them coming out. Libertarians are those who would say, well, the state is not something what we really need. It is something which is interventionist, which is equal to threat and to violence and to economic crisis after economic crisis. So the economic crisis are rather built up by the state intervention. They remedy one thing, but creates another problem, and over time the bubbles or the problems become bigger, and at the end we have a kind of crash down or whatever. But it comes all from the government intervention. And the government, they don't have, they cannot plan. So their main mindset against the leftist would say, well, the state would plan, but they think, no, the state cannot plan because human behavior is not planifiable. So you cannot plan for how the humans will react or how the humans want. The humans are individuals which are very difficult to put into line, to put them into people that would think equally, all the same. So like soldiers, so to say, they would not conceive the humanity as soldiers. And they would say, well, the patent, we don't need government intervention, and we don't need the patents, we don't need the other intellectual property rights, probably we don't need anything of it. And if there are inventions in the past which have been invented without that reward, such as, I don't know, gunpowder or the ink or the wheel or the printing press or whatever. So these are, and they have an ideological approach, which is the Austrian economics, whereas the Keynesians are rather on the leftist, and the supply side would be more by the side of the capitalists. So this gives you an overview on what is on the market, a simplistic overview, very simplistic. There is conservatives which have been bailed out, right? The capitalists which have been bailed out during the last great recession. So it is not a purist view, existing purist view. There are some intertwisted and items or issues which makes it a bit more difficult if you want to go into detail. But for simplistic reasons, I leave it here. So again, I do not want to decide for you. It is up to you to decide what is right, what is wrong. What I want to invite you is the next time you get into a fight, into a discussion, into whatever arguments you have with anybody, you should see this from that angle. So you would analyze the arguments and you would come back what is the mindset of that people, and perhaps you can understand them better. In any case, I think it is very difficult to overcome or to convince others once they are grown up. I think we have deep-rooted ideological anchors in our head, which makes it more difficult to get open to other opinions. And often it is just the other way around. People get mad at one to the other, and we bring society into divisions against one and the other for that deep rooting of ideological framework within our brains. I think we should be more open and more understandable to others, which makes it easier to live and easier to understand, and which will not bring us into some. Now, with regard to patents, there's one side remark at the end I want to make with regard to what we have lived through this pandemic issue. There was billions and billions of money which have been spent into companies, pharmaceutical companies in that case. Billions. So Moderna had a market capitalization of, I don't know, 1 billion, and there are 6 billions of money which have been spent by the government in order to develop that Moderna vaccine, for example. But what I have not seen, I researched it a bit, I have not seen anything where the government, they get part of the patent or the whole patent for that matter, with regard to the outcome of that money spent with regard to vaccines. And that would be, on my opinion, a kind of logic for the government to obtain and for the government to manage, as it is kind of strategic with regard to the pandemic. So that was it for today, rather light, and that is it for the moment also for the patent series. Thank you for tuning in.